Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to round 5 of the men's Zwift Grand Prix. Today we are racing the Team Elimination Omnium. Now, we have seen variations of this format in round 2 of the Zwift Grand Prix, as well as the individual format of this in the Continental Qualifiers, but now we're back with it again for round 5, but with a couple of little changes.
Yeah, that's right, Nathan. We have three races back to back, where after each race, the field will be reduced until we finally have 12 riders that will be starting in the final race three of today's event. Over these races, there'll be points available for the finish position of the riders, but also at critical bonus sprints along the way. These points will all be tallied together to give our teams their final score to determine our outright champions here today in round 5.
Maybe you didn't catch the last few weeks of the Zwift Grand Prix and you're wondering what exactly is the Zwift Grand Prix? Well, this is a new series from Zwift that takes on 6 rounds of regular season racing before it's going to culminate in a grand final in March of 2023. Now, only top 5 teams are going to get through to that grand final, so there's still a lot for the racers and the teams to fight for in these final 2 rounds. Each week of racing is also featuring a brand new format that has never been seen before in cycling. And the whole point of this is to bring the excitement of esports to this new cycling discipline.
Yeah, you can expect the racing to be much more strategic, more gamified, certainly more specialized, and honestly, flat out more exciting than ever. We've got 24 of the world's best esports teams racing here on Zwift with us. They are raring to go. And honestly, their participation in helping design this series has been critical to its success. So, big thank you to all of the teams.
Now, each round of racing is featuring the men's racing one week and the women's racing the next week. And with a little bit of extra focus, you're going to get to know the teams, you're going to get to know the riders, you're going to get to know the head to head battles between all of the riders better than you ever have before. And every single rider on each of these teams, all those points that they're accumulating over time contributes as to whether or not they're getting into this grand final. So it really puts a lot on the line for every single race.
And of course, there's plenty for you to do at home as well. So make sure you head on over to Zwift.com/racing to see what is on offer, and whether you're looking for your first race or are logging on to an event and dropping power ups on a daily basis. We'll look forward to seeing you there.
Let's get right down into round 5 of the Zwift Grand Prix and see what we have coming at you today.
It all starts here at Bridges and Boardwalks, a 14.7-kilometer showdown to begin the first of 3 rounds of racing here today. We'll start with 12 teams, 60 riders. Only half of them will progress, and that'll all happen at the finish. But along the way, you can see there's a very big points opportunity. The bonus points there, scoring only 6 riders deep, but a massive tally to be gained there. So obviously we'll see a surge at this point of the race. The power-ups will be in play. It's 2 familiar ones, the burrito and draft, and clearly that will be imperative to get those final points at the line. We'll count them down from 60 down to 1. Half of the riders, again, will advance into round number 2, and half will collect their points and add them to the team's tally.
And in race number 2, we're out on the Island Hopper, one of the newer maps in Urakazi. And this is an interesting course. Boardwalk Sprint, Tide Pool Sprint, Shisha Sprint, and the finish line all have a lot up for grabs. But right from the get-go, the riders are going to be thinking about getting through to the next race. Only 12 are going to be progressing. And it's at each one of these sprints where they either earn that or they do not. And also, big points up for grabs right from the get go. So the idea here is that going for the progression to the next race, as well as the top points, are trying to be scored right from the gun. So within the first 2 kilometers or so, right off the bat, all the riders are thinking, I need to get through. Now, if you're just looking to get through and score what you can, the finish line is more what they're going to be looking toward. Race number 2, this one is going to be hotly contested.
We've seen this course before, but it's a new cast of characters, and they are going to put on quite a show as we're heading back to Innsbruck. This was the Continental Qualifiers hill climb, and it's infamous. 12.9 kilometers, 480 meters of vertical gain. It'll be an absolute Donnybrook for the 12 riders that take the start. The power-ups, they come early. You're going to want to use that feather at the exact right moment. Very little margin for error out here. The points will descend 5-point chunks from 60 down to 5 for the 12th place finisher. Everybody's going to be looking for the top tally of 60 here for their team when this one is done and dusted.
And now that we've looked at the courses, the teams will be taking on, let's take a look at the teams out there today. In this round number 5, it's going to be Abus Lacole, Team Arrow coming out of Australia, Coalition Alpha, Hexagon presented by Saras, Callus Esports presented by Wahoo Berg. The Movistar E team is out on courses today. Next, Esports presented by Insured. It's going to be Team Castelli presented by Elite. The Team Swedish Zwifters, Toyota Cryo RDT. Team Velocio. And last but not least, it is Wahoo Local.
All right. Well, after 4 of 6 races, this is where things stand. We can take a look at the trajectories that teams have at this point, as it has been quite a season. It's worth noting we've got a new point structure as well, which leaves things much more in the balance here for the final 2 of 6 races that made up the season. So, next, Esport presented by Insured. They've been on a roll over the last couple of years, and you can see that they are right back at it here. A big win last week. That'll even boost their confidence more as they head into the 5th race of this 6-race series. So you can see that they're sitting on 80 points, starting to go clear right now of what I call the most consistent team in esports, Avis Lacole. They don't miss a step. They'll be back in the mix here today, looking to take that top 25 points and make things much more interesting. But you can see that they are always right there. Now, this is a team that wants to change the trend when you look at 3rd place right now with Wahoo Lacole, and they absolutely can. It's within reach still. So we'll see what kind of motivation they bring to race 5. Sitting at 58 points in 3rd is the mighty Wahoo Lacole team. Now, Coalition Alpha, after a tough week last week, I mean, look at how things have swung on the pendulum from them. Race 3, they take the win, and then they put a goose egg up after race 4. So they're going to be looking to have an Empire Strikes Back moment here as they're sitting in 4th right now with 50 points. Right behind them, rounding out our top 5, is an eSport OG squad, Toyota Cryo RDT, 44 points, and it can go one way or the other for them out here today. It'll be fun to watch how Team Castelli, presented by Elite, does, as they are tied with Movistar right now for the 6th and 7th spot. Kalish Esport, presented by Wahoo Burke, sitting in 8th, 1 point ahead of 9th place squad Hexagon, presented by Saris. Then you can see another team that's going to fight to stay in the top 10 is going to be Velocio. You never know what kind of rabbit they'll pull out of a hat on a day like today, with the Australians of Arrow sitting in 11th and rounding out our 12 teams, the gladiators of esports here, Team Swedish Zwifters, sitting in 12th. That's where it stands after 4 weeks heading into week 5 for the men.
And starting off our roster roundup, it is going to be Abus Lacole, and it's led up by one of the strongest riders we know of in the men's side of esports today. It is Leonard Tugels, and it is Matthias Vanhe. Another strong sprinter is going to be Matthias de Roos. Watch out for Jasper Peredines and Sieben de Valkenier rounding out the Abus Lacole roster.
All right, thanks, Nathan. Let's take a look at the Australian entry here, the Aero Team, Australian Esport Racing Organization. And Ben Hill will lead the squad into battle here today with his compatriot, James Harvey, Josh Harris, who's been very strong lately, Mark Bosted representing Aero, along with the other Hill, Sam Hill, on the Aero Team. Good luck to the Australians.
Next up, it's going to be Coalition Alpha, and they're going to be led up by one of the most well-known esports racers in the world, and that is going to be Lionel Viasin, the Duck himself. The breakaway specialist, Ollie Jones, is second up on the roster, and then it's going to be Han Yun Zhang. Christopher Lockwood going to be the fourth rider out there, and then none other than Zhou Power, who's going to be bringing plenty of the power to this powerhouse squad of Coalition Alpha for our round 5 of the Zwift Grand Prix.
All right, let's take a look at the hexagon presented by Sarah Squad, another team that always brings great danger to the race with Berk Kayan. He's the Turkish rider on this mostly French squad. Sebastian Havot's got a potent kick. We'll watch for him today along with his teammate Tony Lemler. Also in the mix, we're expecting Michael Plantero to be back at his old tricks, and his teammate, Jeffrey Millot, always a rider to watch. That's Hexagon, presented by Saris in orange.
Next up, it's going to be Callus Esport. They're presented by Wahoo Berg, and they're led up by Stian Lursveen. And then it's going to be Havad Geldings, a very well-named old school OG for the esports movement in the virtual racing is going to be Christian Oftendal. Simon Nordveld Svensson, one of the top ranked Zwifters in the world, Simon is. And then it's going to be Martin Rost Amdahl. All these racers been around for a long time. One of the first esports teams amongst that movement. Great to see them out here today in the Zwift Grand Prix.
All right, let's take a look now at Movistar E-Team. This team of all-stars ready to go to battle here. They don't miss a step, do they now? As Vidar Mel, certainly going to be a big part of the conversation early today. Samuel Brandlund, Daniel Gould, Jonas Bjarhead, and Pim van Diemen for Movistar on a day that certainly suits this squad well. I'm anticipating a top 3 ride from them today. Watch out for the men in blue Movistar.
And our current series leaders, it is Next Esport, presented by Insured. And they've got a powerhouse team when it comes to sprinting. And there's a lot of sprinting early on in this round 5. None other than Brian Duffy Jr. showing up to lead that squad. Dan Turek. And then it is Barney himself, James Barnes, going to be the third rider out there. Thomas Thrall, and another major breakaway specialist. Watch out for attacks from none other than Zach Neer. Is going to be rounded out. Next Esport, presented by Insured.
Wow, that really is a murderer's row that you've got there. Here's the Italian edition, and this team has been lighting it up over the last couple of months. Looking for a big day today is Team Castelli, presented by Elite, and that will be Davide Fumagalli leading the team in white. Ewan Mackey on this squad, another Italian to watch, Luca Zanasca, along with Matteo Gaffuri and Riccardo Panizza. This team is lethal. Watch out for Castelli today.
And always a mainstay amongst the esports, it is going to be Team Swedish Zwifters. And it's going to be led up by Martin Harberg. Next up, it's going to be Jacob Jorklind, Henrik Almqvist, Matthias Svensson, and Jerry Eriksson. That is the white and blue with a little bit of neon accent in there. Team Swedish Zwifters, another one of the OG squads showing up today. Very consistent squad. We'll see what they can pull off in this round 5 of the Zwift Grand Prix.
All right, now we take a look at Toyota Cryo RDT, a squad that is always up for the fight. This course again today should be interesting, and let's see how they play things out. You can see some big names on this team. Anders Bengtsson, Bart van den Eikhout, Christopher Team, and he'll be heading to Worlds. Good luck to Martin Mertens and Brad Guveris. This team is well-rounded, really no weak link at all on the Toyota Cryo RDT chain, Nathan.
Another strong team showing up mainly out of the Americas. It is going to be the Neon Velocio, and it's Adrian Voulier. Charles McCarthy is the second up on that squad. And then one of our most aggressive riders in the world of esports, it is Daniel Jam Rosick, also known as Jammers, as he likes to jam off the front. Brad Bickley. And then it is going to be rounded out by Yumeto Shigahara. That is your squad, Velocio, showing up today.
And now Wahoo Lacole. This is a team that is really looking to make their mark. And we look at Northern Ireland's Wattage Cottage himself, Chris Dawson. His experience is going to be critical today. Mark Modding is there to reinforce the Finnish superstar, Teppo Lorio. Tim Rugg, racing out of the United States. Warren Muir is another rider that's guaranteed to put points up on the board for you. Will it be enough for Wahoo Lacole to top the table today? I wouldn't bet against them, to tell you the truth. This team is coming in hot motivated. WLC Wahoo Lacole. That's a squad that will have to be reckoned with today.
And getting right down into the racing, it looks like Timothy Rugg is already off the front for WLC. We are out on the bridges and boardwalks. It's a right-hand turn off into the bridges section. And as we can see, the team Mandy in there, that's going to be WLC riding for one of the athletes that was recently lost. And so big shout out to that entire team. And condolences to that, but obviously Rugg here riding for Mandy off the front for a moment there, but the counters are coming, and quickly they're going to be collecting some power-ups here, Dave, and it's going to be burritos and draft. 60 riders, 12 teams, but only 30 progressing to the next race.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, Nathan, no doubt about it. Here we go with the American Charlie McCarthy hitting out. So Nathan, fast and furious is the story. There's so, when you look at the details here, most importantly, only 30 riders out of this group advance into race number 2. But first up, we've got some scoring to do, only just right into the first couple of K. And we've got power-ups to talk about as well.
Yeah, and as you can see, 6.4K to go to the bonus points that are up for grabs. The top 6 riders will be collecting those points. 60 points for first, 50 for second, 40, 30, 20, and 10 all the way through that 6th place. A power-up is available here. As you can see, they just collected at the 1.9 kilometer. The next power-up that will be available is on the top of the little climb they take on at the 5 kilometer marker. But at the 8.3 kilometer marker, about 6K from now, is when those bonus points will be up for grabs. So, Dave, that's what a lot of these riders will be looking forward to. There's a lot of time between now and then, and already we've seen teams go on the attack.
Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. So what I'm really looking forward to is seeing if anybody can pull off the double here in race number 1. Because, yes, you need to advance into the next race, but this is a points tally that we're looking at for your team. And you could pick up 60 points if you win this mid-race preem, this mid-race bonus, to add to 60 points at the finish. And that's the maximum bonification that you could carry through or transfer for your team. Now, it's 6 deep at that sprint. 60, 50, 40, 30 on down to 10 points for the 6th place finisher. Unlike at the finish line where everybody walks away with at least 1 point. Here we go. This is going to be the South African Barney on the attack. So next, just rolling the dice a little bit. Nothing too serious. Back to you, Nathan, as they'll bring him back into the fold.
Yeah, Barney with a little bit of a move there, maybe seeing if they could cause some disruption or, you know, if they let him just go off the front for a little while, but nothing going to be happening there. As they head into the climb, though, here, Dave, it's a steady grind. It's nothing too steep or serious. 5% gradients, nothing getting into something that you would see maybe over on Innsbruck for the final here. But now, who do you think that's going to be? I just saw some WLC going off the front, and that's going to be Modding. This is a rider coming out of the community that we discovered actually out of the Zwift Racing League last spring. And WLC, they picked up on him, and they were like, look, if this is for real deal, let's make sure that we grab him and put him on the roster, because we've seen him ride away from many a pack, some of the top fields actually. Great to see him on the attack for WLC right now into this climb. 7 watts per kilogram, Dave. This is no joke.
Yeah, heavy, heavy hitter. Mark Modding we're looking at. Again, Nathan, you mentioned at the top of the show, they've been flying the flag here for Mandy. They lost a teammate just a couple of days ago, Mandy Hagman, and that's why you're going to see that all day for Wahoo Lacole. So just to be clear, they're going to be extremely motivated as they're riding with Mandy in their hearts, and this team is going to be lighting it up today, no doubt about it. That's the spirit of this community, which is so, so strong, and it transcends all of these teams. Nathan. So again, going back to the racing here, Nathan's absolutely right when he tells you that Mark Modding is one of the real danger men out here. Nathan, is this a bid for 60 points right now? It has to be.
Oh yeah, it has to be here, and it's going to try and force something from the rest of the teams. And when it comes to the teams, I got to admit, out of all of them, WLC have shown up time and time again with some of the best tactics. Do not put anything past them. They have plan after plan after plan, plenty of cards up their sleeve at this point, and this is just going to be one of those being played right now with Modding going off the front. We did see a little bit of a move from Movistar at 8 watts per kilogram for a moment, but it was shut down pretty quickly. Now it's going to be Gavaris there. As you can see, that 6 watts per kilogram, and the riders nearby. He's got a 6-second gap to that move from Gavaris, but he's just on the front setting tempo, it looks like. Pushing up to 5 or 6 watts per kilogram, making sure that this is within striking distance. Now, as Modding comes over the top here, Dave, the real question is how much distance is he able to get and speed that he can carry onto the downhill section, because this pack will start snowballing very soon.
Absolutely. And it really, there is no magic number, but 8.5 seconds at this point. Back to Sebastian Havot of the Hexagon team. This has a very realistic shot of making it. Again, the points are massive at this sprint here, as much as for the win. So you certainly put your team way, way out in front of things if you can come away with even any of the top 6 spots out here. But then the drop-off is dramatic. So, all right, Nathan, here we go. How seriously are they going to take Mark Modding right now? Wahoo Lacole is the team there in purple. Modding right now on a mission. It's gone over 11 seconds. Make it 12 seconds. I think he's got the 60 points now, Nathan.
Yeah, I mean, at 3 kilometers to go, they're going to have to really ramp it up. They might just allow this to walk away a little bit here and start fighting for 50 points instead for second. We'll see if there's any moves here. Now, Dave, something I just saw from WLC, which is a little strategic point. It's not a major strategic point. It isn't going to change the entirety of the race necessarily, but sometimes this is a race of meters. Look at Timothy Rugg, and we just saw the rest of his teammates doing the exact same thing. They went to the front and dropped their burritos. WLC purposely used their burrito power-ups at the front of the pack to slow down everyone around them. The burrito power-up is a area of effect power-up. It means it affects the area around the rider who's using it. It's not just right behind you. Everyone who is in that drafting area around you will not get any draft or any gain speed. And there's not a better way to slow the pack down. Go to the front and then drop a burrito power-up and everyone's going to go slower. Perfect tactics there from WLC. This man is gone. 60 points, I think, are in the pocket of WLC.
Gamification, Zwiftcraft, right there in full effect. Nathan, at what point do we start talking about this being a double dip, 60 and 60? Because there's not that much racing still ahead of us. If they don't start taking him a little more seriously right now, because there's no doubt that Modding is going to pick up the 60 points at the intermediate sprint. I don't know, Nathan. Can he carry on and transfer this all the way to the finish line? We got ourselves a bike race, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first of 3 events. 30 riders of the 60 that took the start will transfer into race number 2. But right now, this is the man of the match. Mark Modding here, putting on a clinic. It really looks like it's topped out. About 20 seconds is that advantage. I see the Castelli rider Gaffuri moving up to the front. There's Zach Nair from next. Thomas Thrall also inserting himself into the conversation. So they're going to start bringing this one back, but they gave him a lot of leash, Nathan.
And it's going to start ramping up. It's 1K to go for the leader here at this point for the points. And as you can see, everybody going all the way down to that 2.5, 3 watts per kilogram, even 0 watts per kilogram for a lot of them, because it is a downhill. But because it is a downhill, that snowball effect is going to be keeping things neutralized as far as the time coming down. Now, Modding here, he's gonna take these points, and then the pack and modding are gonna have a decision moment because they're gonna see how much time will come back from the sprint. And after that, it's actually another climb. The same climb that he broke away on, he can go and do again. And if they have 5, 6, 7, 10 seconds left on this gap still, he's just going to continue on, in my opinion, and see if he can grab that 60 at the end as well. Now, I'd be surprised, though, Dave, if there wasn't a roll over the top of the sprint to send somebody across.
And you got to remember that we're racing again here. In a few more minutes, we'll be starting event number 2 of 3. This is going to be an attack. It's going to be CrowdJet hitting up Bjorklund. There is one of the riders that we're looking at. So using that draft power up at Nathan, this is going to be a sprint now for 50 points, second place over this line.
Yeah, and there's a big jump from Gaveris, but now Gaveris is getting swelled on, it looks like here, as Modding comes over the top. It's down to 12 seconds between Modding and this rider. That's going to be Almquist, though, but Gaveris now with a second kick, but no, it looks like it's going to be Brandlin sniping it at the line. I believe that's going to go back probably to the cameras to see if Brandlin did actually, and he did. He grabbed the 50 points. It's going to be Almquist, followed by Gaveris, Thrall, and then Omdahl for ESRT, and it's the average wattage through.
Wow.
Interesting to see now, though, Dave. Can he hold on to this 6 seconds? The pack is slowing down, but it looks like a few riders may try and cross, and I have a feeling this is going to be touch and go as to whether or not this is going to be a breakaway that continues or all together.
Team points that we're going to get a look at now after that last sprint. Nathan, this one is blowing to bits out here. So Wahoo Lacole with Mark Modding picks up the 60 points. None of his teammates were able to score there behind him, as it would be Movistar with 50, Swedish Swifters with 40, Toyota Cryo 30. Next gets 20, and Kalish the 6th and final team to get up on the board here. More points coming at the finish line, but right now it is absolute pandemonium here. This is going to be Martin Mertens that we're looking at, as Modding is still, Nathan, around 6 seconds off of the front, so he's continuing to carry on right now.
Yeah, it looks like Martin's going to try and do what we just saw Modding do. He saw that he was able to get away, but I have a feeling now that this pack is going to be much more motivated to keep this within striking distance. They saw that Modding was allowed to get away, and if they do that again, there's going to be a free spot into the next race on top of another 60 points that can be easily scored by Cryo. They're not going to let this one walk away the same way that we saw that in that last lap.
Points scoring differently at the finish from 60 on down. Here comes a counterattack, and I believe this is going to be Brandlin that we're looking at. As, that's going to be Timothy Rugg, the American here on Wahoo Lacole. So he attacked to start this race. He's back at it now as they go inside of 5K. That's going to be Brandlin coming over the top. Pim van Diemen, Martin Mertens, Michael Plantereau, and Brian Duffy Jr. Oh, the cream is rising to the top right now, Nathan. They're looking to split this group.
I really like the way that they're racing this too. There's a ton of aggression here, Dave, and this is the way that you want to really take it to the rest of this pack, because you do have this steady climb all the way to the top, and you can start sending those riders that you trust to have something in the legs for a top 30 sprint later on, even after an attack like this. You try and let them go, see if they can start to form some sort of a breakaway and put the pain into some of the riders that are behind, for some of the other teams to chase. That's some of these teams' main tactics we've seen over and over again. Get other teams to chase, get other teams to put in the work and sacrifice themselves even to stay involved. I love how a lot of these teams are racing this. Movistar, next you've seen Cryo as well. WLC really taking the race to the rest of the riders. Something a little different we're seeing from Coalition this week, though, not so much on the aggression. Maybe they've changed up their plans a little bit here, Dave, because what we saw last week was so much aggression. Perhaps they're thinking, let's change it up this week and see if we can really strike when we need to.
I love the dynamics that we've been enjoying in the Zwift Grand Prix, and this is a perfect example. I mean, really, this is what the World Championships are going to be very similar to. And right now, Nathan, you have to think there is so much momentum at the back of this group, as we've got so many riders who are going to be looking to transfer into race number 2 and trying to collect more points in the overall tally. So really, you're looking at two different things now. The massive amount of points waiting at the finish, but you've got to make the top 30. So you don't want to fly too close to the sun and melt those wax wings, but you've got to be in that orbit. And here we go. They are really pushing. Brian Duffy Jr., Ollie Jones, Zach Nair, Oh boy, Nathan, when you look, it's like a spearhead shape to this group, telling me that the pressure really is on. I see Sebastian Havo, and there's got to be 10 riders at the back of this race that feel like a foot is on their throat right now. Just a battle going on as we're coming up very quickly on 3K to go. Little over that right now, but this is a real big setup happening here.
60 starters, Dave. Only 30 get through to the next race. We have dropped off about 6 riders from the main pack at this point. We did see Gaffuri here on the attack just a moment ago. It's been Team Italy. Also, another team here, Dave, that has been so extremely aggressive. Absolutely love what they've been bringing to the table. And now on the attack.
It looks like Vidar Mel just about to make that catch, but look at this. It's absolutely shattered at the front. Nathan Guerra, back to you.
So much roll speed now coming down this downhill. They're going to be hit a little bit of sand. Now, that sand doesn't necessarily slow them down. Just so you know, this section of course does not have any speed differentiations, and they're just going to come flying through with all of that speed. The pack is going to roll right up on top of them here. Now, Paniza getting into that super tuck well over 57 kilometers per hour now as he pedals right on through. Rug coming back with 7 watts per kilogram. They've got 1 second over a hard charging pack, and it's going to be your Fury coming across now as well from Castelli, and now a jump here from the pack. Watch this pack, though. They're going to roll over the top in just a moment with massive speed, and it's going to start to gallop at about 1.6 kilometers here. Dave, this is really the setup for the sprint.
We've never seen anything like this in esports, to tell you the truth. The amount of jeopardy that riders have got to be feeling in this group, because now, Nathan, it's impossible for me to imagine that riders want to roll the dice and go for the 60 points, because it's 59 per second, 58 for third. It's linear on down. So really the name of the game here is a top 10. You don't want to burn more calories than you have to, because we've still got a lot of racing ahead of us. You look at race number 3, and that's an absolute monster. So we still right now have a lot of riders who got big. Well, there you go. The Italian's going to prove me wrong as Gaffuri's going for it now, attacking out of this group. And this is old school Fury. Inside of 1K to go. The Italian, Nathan, says, ciao bellos. Will it be enough as the chase is going to be fast and furious, being led by Tugels and Jasper Paradanes?
Yeah, and this is a big risk here coming in from Gaffuri. He's still got a right-hand turn. He's going to see the bridge off in front of him with the final banner. Tugel's actually toward the front at 11 watts per kilogram. That's a huge risk. Not necessarily where I'd want to be if I were somebody trying to set up for a sprint. But here's the kick coming from Timothy Rugg. Now 11 watts per kilogram, 13 watts per kilogram, leading things out. How many riders are going to make it through out of this pack? It's only 30, Dave. And this is all for the setup now coming on through. I do see it's going to be Martin Maritins leading things out. WLC is there as well with Rugg. Barnes now over the top. Is James Barnes going to take max podification points here? 60 points on the line. James Barnes holding 12 watts per kilogram. Now fading, it looks like right at the line. Nipped perhaps by Dawson from WLC, or was it Ollie Jones, actually, it seems. Perhaps Jones the one able to grab those 60 points. Gaffuri, look at the risks he took, Dave, and off the back, it was a last-ditch effort, it looked like, for the rider from Castelli, and he actually ended up suffering for it, Dave. Rolled the dice, but Dave, what a wind-up from that pack.
Yeah, Nathan, we are taking a 100-pound stage race and putting it into a 50-pound bag here, because these races are already now into recovery mode. I've always loved our friend Hannah Walker using the term there or thereabouts. And if you made the top 10, as these riders have, you're there or thereabouts. This is such an interesting point structure. So they're going to score it as Ollie Jones with 60 points here and the win in race 1 of 3. The silver medal for race 1 here goes to Leonard Tugels. Martin Mertens in third. And then you've got Barnes, followed by Dawson, Zanaska, Bjorklund, Mel, Hevo, and Panizza. Nathan, that's our top 10. I'll throw it back to you for the next batch of 10.
And even after the lead out from the rider from WLC, Timothy Rugg, and so many attacks out today, still able to hold on to 50 points in 11th. And it's going to be from the Movistar E team. Pim Van Diem coming through for 12th place, 49 points. Lionel Vyasin makes it up for 13th place. Zach Neer in 14th. Van Den Eckert in for 15th. Brian Duffy Jr. 6th. Ben Hill in 17th place. Gould in 18th. Fumagalli from Team Castelli in 19th. And then it's going to be our friend Teppo Lorio running it out in 20th.
Now it's the agony and the ecstasy of sports. If your name is on this list, you're ecstatic as you will be advancing into race number 2. If you don't see your name, it's like cut day at your sports team. Unfortunately, you'll get your points and you're done. Let me move into 21st and advancing will be Mackey, Harris, Modding, who was a hero out here today, Nathan, with what he did earlier. Great ride from Mark Modding. It's going to be Nordhall Svensson, who'll be looking forward to the next race, which should suit him. Daniel Turek in 25th, Mir, Bosted, Team, Roste Omdal, and Plantero. These are the 30 riders that you've just seen who are advancing. And now the unfortunate riders, Nathan, whose day is done.
Modding still with a good amount of points there, as we just saw. Interesting to see. Now, these points are still awarded. We do award points all the way down to 60th for 1 point, but these riders do not make it through to the next race. Interesting there to see Planteru making it through, because that is a strong climber that just made it through, Dave. I mean, that is right on the edge. Watch out for him if he continues to perform that way. Lersveen, nice job by him grabbing 30 points there. Look at Matthias de Roos, though, Dave. A good sprinter from Abersleclo not making it through at 27. Brandland as well not coming through.
Wow.
Dave, these are big names. Kayan's not there. Guveris is not there, but still scoring points. But Dave, this is a little bit of an upset as well, though, for some of these riders that could really be a big addition to the team later on.
Some of the biggest names in esports did not transfer, and it speaks to the quality that we've got. Really, I hate to say it, Nathan, I'm amazed that we see names that I would have had on my world championship roster who don't advance into this 30. Let's take a look at how the teams are standing now, and that's always been a cornerstone of what this racing is about. So, Nathan, I'll go right to the top of the table here. Wahoo Lacole is back. I talked at the start of the show about they wanted to turn things around. They're doing exactly that. We mentioned they're riding for Mandy with full effect today. Very impressive and heartwarming efforts there. Movistar is sitting in second now. There's still a tremendous amount of points in the next 2 races here. So this is far, far from over as Movistar sitting in second. And if they look over their shoulder, the mighty, mighty Next Esport presented by Insured team is there. There's 3 teams over that threshold of 200 points after the first of 3 races. Then right there is Toyota Cryo RDT. They're sitting on 199 points, virtually tied with Team Castelli presented by Elite, who really animated things in race number 1. Race number 2 will feature a lot more of a sprinting focus before the insane climb that we've got in race number 3. So, Nathan, that's what we're looking at now for the teams as they're bracing themselves for what's going to be an all-out gallop coming up. So we can look forward, we can look backward. That is what it is all about. Tremendously exciting racing. I'm loving it. I mean, Nathan, we haven't had a disappointing format at all, but this one has some real legs to it.
Yeah, it really does, Dave. I completely agree. And last week I said my favorite format, in my opinion, is the new points hunters. But Dave, this is starting to be like, okay, the amount of points that are available, everybody able to kind of be a part of the racing, right? Like everybody gets to participate in this first race, but there's also something extra bonuses out there on course. Now in the next race, we're going to see even more extra bonuses. It's going to be coming at you even quicker as far as the riders competing for it right up front. And then there's still this elimination kind of mixed in there. So there's points up for grabs. They're all over out on course. Then there's eliminations going on as well and being able to get into the next race. There's a lot to go for and race for in a really positive way, I feel like, out here, to be a protagonist for the stories we see playing out in front of us.
One of the things I really love, Nathan, about this format is this concept right here, right? You might say, hey, if you're a sprinter and you go for it, you'll pick up 60 points if you win this first sprint. And folks might say, well, yeah, but what are you going to do in the hill climb later? Well, one thing's for sure, you're taking up one of 12 spots that another hill climber won't be able to get who can't sprint. So you really are doing yourself and your team a favor. The points drop down as well. So this first sprint will be as frenetic as they come out here. What's really surprising to me too is some of the names that won't be contesting this because it was so insanely fast. And in that last 500 meters there, we've never seen anything quite like that before in race number one. Now we've really got our sprinters' playground to look forward to out here. Points decidedly different in this one. And then obviously race number three is a completely different universe.
Yeah, and I want to also highlight that because there's so much available across the entirety of the team, I feel like some of the teams that are really well rounded that haven't necessarily been able to show all of their roles on the team on the day are able to show up with something they're a little bit more used to, something that looks kind of like a scratch race with some points in between here to go and grab those. And as you can see from the points we just saw and the way it's been shaken up a little bit from the current standings, you see a team like Coalition Alpha back up toward the top. You see now toward actually the bottom of those points, Ableist Lacole. They're not actually in the top spots, but they're sitting in second overall. Next Esports, they're not at the top spot right now. Wahoo Lacole is taking over again. So I think that these different formats that we're seeing a lot of juggling around of where teams are standing on each one of the days, and I'm really enjoying how those formats are bringing out the competition in so many dynamic ways.
Yeah, I've never seen a race like what we've got coming up as far as, as you say, the format here. So let's take a look at exactly that format here, as you're going to have four opportunities to score points and advance to transfer into the third and final race. As you can see, the points are being doled out immediately. 1.9K in will be an absolute bananas moment in esport history, as three riders then will punch their ticket and move into the final and third race here today, and they'll score massive points for their team as well. 60, 58, and 56. So the points declining by 2 now as we have 30 riders taking the start. We eliminated it really, the cream jumped out of the cup when you talk about what happened in race number one. So next up, we've got another sprint coming up, just 5.5K in, the tide pool sprint, Nathan. And again, more points to be handed out.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. The Island Hopper here, 15.7K. It's a really this race isn't that long necessarily, Dave, but it's gonna be sprint after sprint after sprint after sprint, breaking away from a pack like this. I think the only opportunity really, and it's actually gonna be an okay opportunity because it's a pretty long climb as you saw in this last race here. It is using the new Yurikazi addition to the McCurry Islands, and this section, of course, this is where we saw the breakaway coming in from modding. We may be able to see something similar happen after two sprints. I think the pack might feel a little bit like they need to reset, and perhaps we might see a breakaway start to form to try and grab that Shisa sprint or the finish line. But up front, Dave, I think you're right. It's going to be all guns blazing. The big points as well as three places. It's the thing I like about this, Dave, too, is there's so much gained from winning that first sprint. And putting that right in there, right up front, I think really allows this game to not be played to like hold back. You have to pretty much, if you're confident, put everything on the line, and you can keep doing that over and over again until you finally win one of those sprints. Or are you going to reserve and put it all on the line for a later sprint just to make sure you get through? There's a lot of tactics to be employed here to be in those 12 and to win points for your team right now.
I would not wait, Nathan. I would go full guns a blazing if you want to talk about tactics, because you also have the huge advantage of getting a much longer break. Let's jump right into the action. As we said, buckle up, because this is going to be mental chicken oriental. They're going to set this up like a track sprint, Nathan. I have a feeling that there will be an attack, but and who's it going to be? Because we have to get used to the fact that 30 of the riders have left the race. It's going to be boardwalk sprint that we're heading into. 60 points on the line. He's been active today. Pim Van Diemen, Ollie Jones, Brian Duffy Jr. going. Nathan, these are some heavy hitters moving forward now. Get ready. It's going to rock the world of esports here.
Interesting to see the way that they're playing this right from the get-go here, Dave. I thought perhaps to be able to stay away, but no, it gets a response quickly from the pack. But It looked like they were going to see if perhaps, what's interesting, Dave, is it feels a little bit like one of the tiny races that Zwift Insider put on. You do that first race, and it was so short and so powerful that the next one you're like, are you serious? Do I have to do this again? And sometimes you can trick the pack, or maybe not even trick them. They just don't want to. There's nothing left in the legs to really want to give it a go to close something down. Let somebody else do that. Now Pim Van now making a move there, 13 watts per kilogram off the front. Movistar out here, Dave, and it's getting a response from Castelli.
So in top three riders do leave the race with the points. So Pim Van Diemen showing he's got a command of his adrenal gland. That is for sure. As he's tapped into that thing, it is wide open right now as the Dutch rider has hit hard. Let's see what's going on behind him. It's not quite a second. Back to Riccardo Panizza, the Italian, closing the gap. Let's see, Nathan. Will it be Ollie Jones, the third rider? Back to you.
Ollie Jones here. It looks like Jones now. Tugel says enough is enough. 12 watts per kilogram. He thinks that this is a move to go with. That's amazing to me. I thought for sure Tugels might save something for the climb, but he goes at 12 watts per kilogram. All in move from Leonard Tugels. No response really from the pack that's even close to what he's putting out. Daniel Turek now at the front for Next Esports of the pack in fourth place. He's leading his team out at this point here. Does Tugels have a second kick, Dave? It's only 5 seconds, and they're well within the last couple Ks before this sprint, David. Tugels go for the top.
Supernova out of Belgium. What a ride from Leonard Tugel. So this is massive. He looks like he's going to get the 60 points. Yep, this one should be done and dusted as Tugels hangs on. And now Van Diemen and Panizza. These are the big three. Tugels, Van Diemen, and Panizza. That's not a law firm. That's your top three with 60, 58, 56 points distributed amongst those three. Back to you, Nathan. Wow, what a start.
Wasn't even contested, Dave. 1, 2, 3, just win it outright, Dave. They just went right on through and scored and went to the next race. That was, and everyone just watched them. Was it like they couldn't respond? And now here comes the attack up and over the top here. Lionel Viasen says, okay, my turn. I'm going to see if I can make the same kind of move stick. 8 watts per kilogram. Martin Mertens, Timothy Rugg coming across Vidar Mail, but the pack, they're going to start responding, I think, here, Dave. They saw what just happened, and I have a feeling they're really going to be nervous about continuing to lose out on only 12 spots. 3 of them already gone. 75% of the places to the next race are unavailable at this point, Dave.
Fortune favors the brave. How many times have we said that? It doesn't always work out, but this time it certainly looks like it. Take a look at the company that you've got with you right now as well. Timothy Rugg, one of the most aggressive riders in esports history, and the American is back at it. He's got the Duck, Lionel Viasen, with him, but these guys, Nathan, they're not going to give much leash at all, are they? As we're going to have the same exact situation coming up very, very quickly here. Tide pool sprint. 54, 52, and 50 points are available for not only yourself. You, though, also get to go on the bench and get ready because you'll be advancing into the third and final race. Rugg to the front, Nathan. He has been on fire out here today.
Yeah, Timothy Rugg over the top. But look at the jerseys from Next Esports as well as Wahoo Laco. I think that both of those top teams are getting very nervous right now, Dave. And so Wahoo Laco starts sending riders off the front, making sure that at least one of the riders could get the draft maybe of Next Esports at this point with so little. Dave, 25%, as I said, are already gone. Ghost Power up now, coming in from, who is that going to be? Is that going to be Dawson? WLC have 3 off the front. 3 off the front, trying to create a 3-man breakaway to get the next spots. This is going to get a huge response from Next. I don't know who else is going to be able to respond to this, Dave, but 3 off the front now. Dawson, give it a go.
Can you imagine if you transferred all 3 riders in one fell swoop? So this is going to be out of Northern Ireland, Christopher Dawson. He has the credential. There's no doubt about it. Highly respected, but it looks like now the swarm behind it. Martin Mertens is looking to punch his ticket. Brian Duffy Jr. is up there. He's always up there, as we see Ollie Jones now as well. Full gas out here, Nathan. So your second of 4 opportunities coming up very, very quickly. Look at that, Jasper Paradanes. There he goes.
Yeah, interesting to see here, Dave. Now, that section of course, you actually do get a little bit of advantage through there when it comes to the dirt. Anytime that you do see that dirt kicking up, that is going to be an actual dirt section. So it does slow the avatars a little bit through those sections. As you can see there, Dawson actually gained a little bit of time At 5-6 watts per kilogram, Daniel Turk now says enough is enough. I got to give it a go. You're going to see him take a left-hand turn in just a moment here into some more dirt-type sections here. This section actually, though, is a little bit different. No dirt's going to be kicked up here. This is a sand-type section, so it's going to act like regular road. Left-hand turn and then a 90-degree left-hand turn again into the main sprint section. They're about to start sprinting in any moment here, Dave.
Yeah, and you can see now riders desperately trying to bridge out of that group. It's an OSS situation. Every man for himself, no doubt about it. Is Christopher Dawson clear or not? Because, Nathan, back to you as it looks like a big charge is coming.
Priority T over the top with Vanden Eckhout. Vanden Eckhout now with a big last-ditch effort. It's 800 meters or so to this line, but here comes the rest of the pack. Zach Neer trying to lead things out for next Esport, but Ollie Jones, 9.6 watts per kilogram. It's mayhem behind Dave. Completely just strung out, every man for himself. Zach Neer looking for the second place position because Vanden Eckhout from Toyota Priority T timed it absolutely perfectly. He's going to grab 54 points and 52 maybe to Near. No, Ollie Jones, I can't call that one, but that's your 3 across the line. Now there's a breakaway, though, that is formed behind after all of the chasing, Dave. And Zanaska, Rugg, and Dawson, they could continue on for the next points. This is mayhem.
All heart Bart Vanden Eckhout. That was impressive, and now he can start the process of getting ready for the next races. Again, 3 riders, well, now make it 6 riders have transferred into our final group of 12 that start race 3. 6 of them are still racing out here right now. So super impressive job through the first half of the race. Let's take a look at team points out here now with Avis Nicole on top of the table with 60. It is close, though, with Movistar at 58, 56 there for Team Castelli, 54 for Toyota on down. So, wow. All right, Nathan, this is exactly what we were looking for. Fast and furious action here as we move into the back end, the back 9 of this race.
Plantharo now looking to come across here because this is a dangerous move of 3. It's still about, it's like between the 2 sprints here, between the Tide Pool sprint and the Shisha sprint, it is about 5K, Dave. So there's a lot of distance here to work with, right? And with that amount of distance with 3 very motivated riders, you got to close that down quickly. And that's exactly what Plantharo is doing. And he's getting involved here because you know what, Dave? He's probably not the strongest sprinter, but he's one of the strongest climbers we've ever seen in the world, especially on that Innsbruck climb. And Plantharo, he wants to make it into the final, but can he do it against high-powered sprinters like we see with Next Esports? That's the question. So he wants to get involved on this kicker. This dirt kicker is one of the most dangerous of them all in Yurikazi. I raced it over and over again. The KISS 100 this past weekend, it put the sting in the legs every single lap, and I have a feeling he wants to break it apart right here, right now, so he makes sure he makes it into that final.
Well, unfortunately, Nathan, for the riders who are contesting in that last sprint there at Tide Pool, Shisha is a totally different story. If you come for the king, you better not miss, because here comes the counterattack now. So those riders at the end of their rope, as we've got a new group coming together, and there's some real talent in this group, and this is going to be a big play for positions 7, 8, and 9 in the fight. Wow, Christopher Dawson is still up there. Very motivated. Now, how many times can Timothy Rugg attack today? Let's see if he can hold on to contest one more time and grab one of those highly coveted spots. So big split happening right now here, Nathan. I do think it comes back together. So I don't know that, looking around, if there's enough motivation in this front group, and yep, they're going to weld this back together here. And an attack is coming from Jasper Paradise. It looks to me like Paradise is going to launch.
Martin's now using invisibility power at the moment that Paradines gets back on turns. Did they see him disappear is going to be the question here, Dave. If they saw him disappear, it will be a response. And there's Barnes now responding immediately, because the speed, Dave, it's insane, actually, the kind of speed that you can get in the differentiation on this downhill if there isn't a large group. If Paradines and a couple of others that were in that main pack had not came through in that kind of way, that may have completely split the pack. But Martins now also knows that he can gain a ton of speed through here. Thrall now on the counter, trying to bring things up, it looks like here. 1.6 seconds. is Martin Mertens committed enough to hold on to this 1.7 gap and then continue on with it? Because he's pushing 8 watts per kilogram here, Dave. This could continue to stick if he stays this committed, and they're slowing down at 2.7. It's now out to 2 seconds. Paradines, is he responding? It doesn't look like it, Dave. Martin Mertens may have found a chink in the armor of the motivation in this pack right now.
Yeah, I think he just has to push the chips into the middle of the table, go all in, Nathan, like a Texas gambler. There you go. Mikel Plantero has attacked out of the group. So remembering that these 3 spots, yep, this is the big play now. Actually, if you think about it, Mertens would not mind some help from the Frenchman here, as the 2 riders might have a better shot of holding off this field. Let's see if a third wants to attack out of this group and go join them. And I think that Ghost Power Up might be telling me yes.
Yeah, is that going across to Nazca now? And this is another breakaway rider that you would definitely expect this from here, Dave. And if too many start to go off the front, this pack is going to start responding left and right, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. And this is not going to play into the playbook necessarily of Mertens to plan through, but they had to start making the moves, and here comes Dawson. Here comes Brian Duffy Jr. The entire pack is now responding. Dave, I think this is going to be the whittling down, and we're going to start seeing riders going out the back, because this is a long, steady grind, actually, of the climb. And this is actually the steeper side of that climb. The other side doesn't quite hit the gradients that you're going to see here. And now we're starting to see a pack form at the front. And Mertens is so committed and plan through. He knows, Dave, we saw him come in for 30th place in that final sprint. It is really going to be putting him in pressure right now, Dave, to make sure he's in the top 3 for these next 2. Again, I cannot stress it enough. A climber like him, there's a few others in here as well, Dave. They need to find a way to break this apart, because going against top sprinters out here, it's not going to get them into that Innsbruck ring. They want to make some separation happen right here, right now.
You have to be so well-rounded to be successful as an esports athlete. And Nathan, I've got to say right now that if you look at it, it's the teams that are trying to get a second rider, or even, you got a dream, right? Getting a third rider into that group of 12 puts you into a commanding position for the finale. That's the name of the game right now. Again, not just putting a single rider, and there's another ghost here as we're watching old school fury at the front. Let's see, Nathan. This is not, oh, wow. Is it Mark Modding again?
Modding, WLC. Yeah, he goes again. I love it, Dave. And it was a perfect timed counter, wasn't it? It was immediately, the catch was made, and then here we go. Turek now going off the front from Next Esports. Dave, I don't think it's going to stop. I think the teams are just going to continue to send one after another, and after another until it sticks. Now, Plantero, there it is, a Ghost Power Up coming from Plantero as well. They just do not want to let this come down to a sprint. They're trying to get 3 off the front over and over again. Thrall responds and actually brings his teammate perhaps back. No, he gets told to slow it right on down. It's actually Christoph Thiem looking to come across for Toyota Crowder T.
Absolutely bananas. I mean, if you wanted exciting racing, write down this recipe in pen. So Modding's going to be caught. Again, we're looking for the top 3 and then the next top 3. These will be the 12 riders that will be in the finale, so it's getting to be very desperate times. We're taking a look at the French rider, Michael Plantero, right now as he's up and out of the saddle, flogging himself like a rented mule as he goes clear. He's definitively going to grab at least one of these spots. The points matter. Advancing matters even more. Modding, Team Duffy Jr. charging. Back to you, Nathan.
Modding taking down. It looks like it's going to be Plantero coming on through, and Thiem is there just barely coming in. It looks like for the next 3. Wow, Dave, amazing move, and Plantero's got to be so happy. I mean, after he figures out where his legs are, and if he can even see cross-eyed at this point, he's going to be smiling ear to ear, because that was his moment, Dave, because from here on out, it is a downhill situation, Dave, with a flat-out sprinter's route, but it's a completely decimated field from what we just saw here, Dave, and now it's going to be all about big watts to the finish line and a lead-out train. Can Next Esports get anybody else in here, Dave? So far, I believe it's only Zach Neer that's been able to get across here for one of our top teams, and WLC is only there with Modding.
What's crazy here, the twist of fate right, Nathan? Because they could put Thrall and Duffy Jr. through if they can keep this together and have it be a straight-up sprint. You never do know. This is a battle royale that we've got. So there are 3 spots left. 9 have been handed out. And now we're taking a look here where desperate times call for desperate measures. Some of these riders here, like Chris Dawson, he's been so close, but not quite getting that ticket. And you've got to wonder how much is left in the tank at this point. You watch those numbers there. The sprinting numbers getting average watts getting lower and lower as these riders have just been taking body blow after body blow out here, Nathan, and they've got to brace themselves as we're heading into the finale now. 3.7K to go, and this is going to be the grippiest of all of the sprints that we've got, because now the numbers are not in your favor. Only 3 of these men will move into the final race, and they will have gone through a lot more to get there as well, versus, think about it now, Nathan, some of our riders have been chilling out for the last, let's call it 12 minutes or so, after they've already won their sprint and had their place. So quite a different journey into that final of 3 races. This cannot be the preferred route. The pressure on your central nervous system is immense, but let's see who can hit the hardest now, as this is where it's all on the line.
3.2 kilometers to go, and there's a few riders in here, Dave, that I think have been keeping their powder dry. We saw Duffy Jr. go to the front for a moment. Thrall as well. We saw a little bit there from James Barnes so far, but I have a feeling that Next Esports are trying to go 1, 2, 3 in this final sprint, and have been really saving a little bit with a few of their riders to try and make sure that they can set themselves up as best as they can. Now, there's other riders, Dave, that may be in here that are thinking, look, I need to make something happen. Harris here from Arrow, I've been looking at him. Mark Bostad could start making some moves. Ben Hill as well could start making some moves to set up some of these other riders. I mean, there's riders in here, Dave, that either have to have the best time tactical sprint up against other waters monsters that just come over the top from a drafting situation, or they need to start setting up their other riders to force next, to force some of these bigger sprinter teams to chase and burn matches so they don't have the same kick, because we're in 2.5 kilometers to go and only 3 riders are getting through.
Yeah, not much more real estate if you are going to look to attack. The Italians have been so active out here, and it looks like Fumagalli is going to make another run at Tepolorio, leading the peloton right now. But I think this is maybe more about positioning here, Nathan, timing these sprints. Well, good call on Hill there. Sam and Ben Hill both representing Australia, and there goes the Aero team to the front. So Hill going to attack here as they bring it down to the penultimate kilometer. But they're going to cover that one with Bjorklund,
and I think Ben Hill,
Armel.
I have a feeling they're going to cover him real quickly here. And Mark Bostad, I would not be surprised if we see him come over the top immediately. If Bostad has anything in the legs right here, I have a feeling that perhaps they're going to come right over the top. Duffy Jr. now shutting that down quickly. He's the workhorse, it looks like, for this Next Esports team at this point. He does come over the top here. He's going to back it off. I don't think he's going to continue on with that. Bjorklund here. No, actually, Duffy Jr., I'm completely mistaken. This is a big surprise to me, Dave, but actually, now that I think of it, this is a move to make sure that there's a chase coming down. He might be saying, you know what, guys, for a climber's, situation out there on the Innsbruck ring, I'm just going to go all in at this point and set you other riders up to make it on through. Makes the move, and the chase has to be on from Abus Laco. Now Rugg comes across because Rugg knows he's got to make this breakaway situation. Not a big sprinter, and Paradines goes too. It's 1 second to the group, and we've got 3 up in the road here, Dave, and a burrito from Abus Laco.
Boy, you take a look, Nathan. Can these 3 be the 3 to punch their ticket? Because they got a furious peloton with some huge engines leading, and I don't know. Look at this. Sebastian Evo says, not on my watch. Jasper Paradines has attacked out of that group, so Jasper is your solo leader right now. He's certainly in position, Nathan, as we're going to bring this one down to 0 very, very quickly. Can Jasper hold on and get one spot? And look at these hungry wolves behind him. It's an absolute melee here as we go inside. Is 750 meters to the line.
750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. 750 meters to the line. Man, so much trust at this point in what's going to happen with this pack because Parading's just off the front at this point. Havit's now going. Havit attacking. There's invisibility power-ups. There's ghosts everywhere there. Now it looks like it's going to be Thrall trying to hang on for Next Esports, sitting in that 5th place position, trying to set himself up perfectly. But the Duck, Viasen, he's risked it all. He's on the front, but it might just be a lead-out trade because here comes Thomas Thrall, 2.6 seconds back at this point. James Barnes is there with the lead-out man. 12 watts per kilogram. Martins is here, but here's the charge. Have it over the top, perhaps. Still coming Next Esports. Are they going to come through? Martin, though, Mertens, Viasen, they are going to hold on. They're going to do it. The huge upset. Next is not going to make it at all, Dave. 1, 2, 3. Viasen, Mertens, Havit. Wow, Dave. Talk about a race of complete attrition. It was nothing but Rumble Royale, and they all got thrown out of the ring besides those 3 to cross the line.
Wow, Nathan, you said it. Timing was going to be everything. They knew exactly when to light the fuse, and making that top 3 was everything. Yes, the points had diminished, but it was critical that they represent their teams in the 3rd and final race coming up. We can finally come up for air. What an incredible finish. Okay, is this your favorite format now?
Oh, man, Dave, I mean, that's a tough call because last week was so exciting. But this, Dave, the way that this brings the whole team being able to be involved over and over again, trying to find their 3 riders and to get them in it with the dynamic calls. Lionel Viasen grabbing those big points there. There's now across the line, 1st place. It's going to be Havit, followed up by Martin Mertens there. That's your 3 coming across for the finish line. The rest here are going to score points, Dave, but not make it through. Barnes just caught out. He tried to time it, get the lead out from his teammates, unable to do so. But Dave, as far as the format call there goes, Dave, I mean, look at this here. Leonard Tugels, man. Talk about fortune favors the brave, Dave. The guy just went from like a K to go and said, I don't care. I don't even think anybody's going to be able to sprint against my just a massive engine off the front. I'm just going to ramp the diesel and say, catch me if you can. Tugels makes it happen.
Leonard Tugels lives just outside of Ghent in Belgium, one of the greatest cycling cities on the planet, and he's certainly representing. What a command performance from Leonard Tugels. So that is how you do it, folks. That's a clinic. So these are the 12 riders that are going through into our final race. These are the points that they scored in the process here. So the first sprint, the top 3 there, Leonard Tugels, Pim van Diemen, and Riccardo Panizza. The next group of 3, that was sprint number 2. That we call that the tide pool sprint. Bart was a machine. Bart with the big heart, we're calling him, Nathan, as Bart van den Eickhout. It was a solo win for that one there at sprint 2. Ollie Jones and Zach Nair grabbing the other 2 spots. Sprint 3 over at Shisha. And that one scored Mark Motting, who's had a tremendous day, certainly making Mandy proud, my friends, for the Wahoo Lacole team. And then you had Michele Plantero and Christophe Team. They were the other 2 riders there that punched their tickets to make it 9. Then, as you just witnessed in Nathan's fantastic call, what a race, what a way to wrap things up. It seems a little bit heartbreaking that they get the lowest number points, but they do get the critical spots in the final race of 3 here today. Coming up in just a few minutes. Thanks for joining us, as that's Viasen, Lionel, the Duck, Sebastian Evo. So Nathan, I'll throw it back to you. Let's take a look at the team points.
Team points for race number 2. It is going to be Next Esports, presented by Insured. Now, they have left a lot on the shoulders of Zach Neer for this final climb, but I wouldn't want to put it on probably anybody else on that team for a climb. So we'll see what he can pull off. There's a lot of points at the top of that Innsbruck Continental climb. Then Cryo DT coming on in for 2nd place. They got a couple of riders through, I believe, at 136 as well here. It's going to be Movistar E-Team sitting at 116 in 3rd place. Now, this is just for race 2, though. Excuse me. Just for race 2. Forrest then for 100 points with Wahoo Lacole. Coalition Alpha has scored 94 just now. Ableist Lacole with 90. Team Castelli presented by Elite with 90. Hexagon presented by Saris. They grab 86 points in 8th. Arrow on the board. Nice job to them there, grabbing that 9 points for 58. 9th place for 58 points. Team Swedish Drifters and Callus Esport presented by Burke. Wahoo Burke is going to be 10th and 11th. And no representation here for Velocio. That's why they are not on the board. So, Dave, you asked me, is it my favorite? I have a feeling this is turning into my favorite. It just keeps on getting better and better as we go here, Dave. And let's first the analysis of the format before we actually talk about what happened, what we just saw with the riders. Dave, I really, really enjoy the way that you put a carrot out there to race, right? You've got the motivation there, and there's just so many different motivations that are playing on the riders and the teams. And what I really like is that over and over again, at different junctures throughout a very short race, you have the teams trying to figure out how to manage their resources to get their riders in a moment to moment decision making time and communication about who can, when, where, and how to position them as best they possibly can to get to that line, however they can to win points. I absolutely love it, as well as whether or not they're going to get through the next race. Absolutely love this format.
Yeah, uncharted territory, right, Nathan? So many of our racers are brilliant in whatever they do in their lives, and this is really adding to that Machiavellian, the chess match part of it, where the decisions that you make are critical. You have to have the engine and the ability and the desire to back up those decisions. It's one thing to want to cover that move. It's another thing to actually get up there and cover that move. And we've seen, at the very next level of esport tactics being deployed out here. And so, I mean, for anybody, we have 20,000 folks that race on Zwift right now, more than that. But I mean, on any given Tuesday in ZRL. And believe me, they're watching this racing and just licking their lips saying, let us have at it. These formats are exactly what we're looking. Any one of the formats, Nathan, would certainly translate very nicely for racing at any level out there. That's one of the things I love is that we've got so many folks, but at this very high end, what we're witnessing is incredible. I'm glad that we can go in cam with the riders and you can see how deep they are digging. Now we have such a unique situation because to be in this final race, Nathan, you had to be one of the 12 best sprinters in that field. And now we're doing anything but sprinting coming up in this next race. As a matter of fact, does it get any more severe or just in your face, smash mouth climbing than what we've got coming up?
So, yeah, I'm not sure, Dave. I mean, well, yeah, I don't know. As far as the Innsbruck climb goes, the reality of what we just saw sprint after sprint after sprint and the amount of pain that those riders had to go into. I'm thinking of Plantheroux, Michael Plantheroux, the amount of effort he had to put down in order to get that spot. And now he has to go up against Leonard Tugels, who put it all on the line to make sure that he got a lot of extra rest and didn't have to burn as many matches. That is a matchup I am really looking forward to on this climb, actually, to see how that ends up playing out. And Dave, there's also the reality of that you had to really think about who is going to be your workhorses. We saw Ollie Jones closing down thing after ride, attack after attack after attack to make sure that Coalition was still involved. And then next thing you know, closing down those efforts, it allowed him to just kind of be off the front. It allowed him to go with a move then and be like, okay, well, I'm here. And it kind of makes the teams really set their roles up as clearly as they possibly could to say, look, we're going to make sure that this is covered by these few riders and these other riders, or when you can go, make sure that you're sitting in. And I just feel like this format really brought out such an awesome tactical moves from these riders, as well as the way that it broke things apart as well and allowed for them to employ those tactics to bring the best out of those that they could and not just be a sprinters. I mean, it wasn't, I mean, you saw it there, Plantheroux and a few others able to kind of get away. Modin, he's not a pure sprinter, and force it upon these other teams that maybe thought they could sit in. So often we hear, oh, it's just going to sit in. The pack's just going to bring it all back. Didn't happen this time, Dave. So that was super interesting to see how it played out.
Let's go ahead and take a look at our round 2 points total now. So taking the first 2 of 3 races here today, and we can see where things stand as they've double checked, and we'll get a look now at Wahoo Lacole still on top of the table, and the advantage is now a little bit closer to Next Esport, presented by Insured, sitting in second. Movistar in third, only 5 points back, and this is after 2 of 3 races. Each race, we've whittled things down to 12 riders left in the final event here. Toyota Cryo sitting in fourth. So Next Esport only has, Nathan, as you noted, one rider left to get points out there. So a lot of pressure on Zach Neer's shoulders for Next Esport. So Movistar in third right there, just 5 points back, and not all that far back then to fourth place in Toyota Cryo RDT, with Team Castelli presented by Elite rounding out our top 5 right now. Coalition Alpha in sixth, Avis Lecole in seventh. Now, some of these teams will be done scoring points as well, as they won't have a rider representing them. Others, that's not the case, as they're still looking to add to their tally here. But Hexagon presented by Ceres in eighth, Aero in ninth, Swedish Swifters 10th, Kalish Esport presented by Wahoo Burke in 11th, and then Velocio is done for the day at this point, but they'll be back with their fighting spirit. But right now, Nathan, at the top of the table, Wahoo Lecole riding for Mandy clearly today, and that spirit has been wind in their sails. But they now will certainly be happy to hear that it's only one rider, because it could have been a lot worse than that as far as what Next had in the final race of 12. So, all right, Nathan, one to go, as they say.
Innsbruck Continental Hill Climb, Dave. We've seen this a couple of times. We've seen this many times, actually, for those Continental qualifiers. 12.9K, 480 meters of climbing. This one is difficult. It's up the sharp side of that Innsbruck climb. We see some of the steepest gradients in any of the worlds of Zwift on this climb. As you can see in the scoring there is enough points differentiation down to 12. It's a 5-point difference between these places that there is hope, I believe, for the Next team if there's enough separation between Next and some of the other teams that are around them, either Wahoo Lecole, as well as I believe in second and third. There we are seeing Coalition Alpha and a few others right behind him. So, Zach could make this happen for Next out there. Now, Dave, with the power-ups being only the feather, and you get 2 of them, we could see splits early on, actually. The Innsbruck climb there with a feather power-up over the top of that reverse Innsbruck leg snapper climb, that could be a launching pad a little bit to split things up if there's some motivation, because these riders are going to be very tired at this point, and there's only 12 of them. With a smaller pack, Dave, the opportunities are so much more real to break things apart.
Fascinating when you think about it, how you're going to race this. A lot of it would have to be obviously about how you're feeling. We started with 60, went down to 30, and now 12 remain. But as we noted, these riders have proven themselves in the sprinting end of the spectrum. This is going to be decidedly different. So yeah, Nathan, that's really the big question for me, is do riders try to sag this one or get out in front of it, hoping that there isn't going to be that organized peloton chasing you back, looking to set up their sprinters. It's a lot like racing out of a breakaway, to tell you the truth. It's also noteworthy that the points, that 5-point gap, right, between each placing, much more significant than what we've seen. So our riders haven't really had that much turnaround time. Remembering that these are human beings, physiologically, this is tough. As I said, it's like packing a stage race into a couple of hours here. This recovery is the tough part, Nathan. Got to be some heavy legs, I would think, around the globe right now, heading into our final of 3 races.
Yeah, and I think nutrition is going to be a huge part of this. Whether or not you've been reloading those sugars in, getting those glycogen stores in, whether or not you were prepared and you're drinking enough and taking that in is going to be a big question here. I also think, Dave, because there's 2 power-ups up front with those feathers, didn't realize that actually until I was just looking at that graphic and thought about that first climb and then the power-up you get over the top of that to get into the Innsbruck climb proper. I do think, Dave, that anybody who wants to roll the dice and is thinking, look, I just need to take it to this pack, maybe even thinking I might not have the kind of climb that some of these other climbers might have. I could get some time between me and them as more of a ruler, bigger, a power to just throw down big watts on these flatter sections of the course, less riders. They might not be too motivated to make the chase, actually, after all this racing. Somebody might be thinking, if I'm tired, they're tired, and I'm just going to go. And I would not be surprised, because of that double power-up situation, to take the most advantage of that feather as you possibly can, because otherwise it's just wasted to hang on. I have a feeling we're going to see some moves from that actually early on.
Yeah, well, interesting, Nathan. And certainly when you look at the power profiles of some of these riders, and they are just now getting that countdown to launch here, as there, I would imagine there will be attacks because you certainly can't wait around with guys like Zach Nair or Leonard Tugel as they head out on the course. Let's go down and pick up the action. Our third and final race for the men of round 5 of the Zwift Grand Prix. And these are the gladiators of Zwift. So, all right, Nathan, the 12 riders that have advanced through the previous races now. And is that going to be Hexagon and Plantero to the front? Certainly looks like it.
Is that going to be Plantero? It looks like, yeah, we do have to the front immediately Havoc
Oh,
now
have
making a move. Actually,
excuse me.
Plantero is actually going to be sitting in. So we do have, and that's actually a really good move, I think, from the Hexagon team. And I'm going to say that because the reality here is that Havoc most likely isn't the better climber of the two. And so send him up the road, let Plantero sit in, and then he can just do the work later on. Right. And so, and now I think, look at this, the matchup here, Dave. Tugels at 5 watts per kilogram. Plantero is going to go anywhere that Tugels is. I have a feeling that's exactly what we're going to see here, Dave. And Ollie Jones theme, the big wattage monsters that can big power, big speed on the flats. They're going to try and get away right from the get-go and just put the pain in the legs, Dave. There it is. The prediction was true. Ollie Jones and the rest here now saying, let's make moves early. And they're going to be looking for that feather power up in a moment and climb hard over the top of that leg snapper. Tugels wants to get involved.
So, Nathan, are there enough points? And I think the answer is yes for Toyota Cryo to have one of their greatest moments in esports here. They've got 3 riders in this group. That is, if they can put 3 of these guys in the top 5, I think the math really is in their favor. That's a huge advantage. I mean, when you look at it, Wahoo Lacole only has Mark Motting in this race. And I want to make sure I'm correct. And it is going to be just one for Wahoo Lacole. Same thing for next. So if they're going to be overtaken, the teams at the top of the table, it's going to be coming from a squad like Toyota Cryo out here. I love it.
Yeah, what
I
a
mean, it could go either
situation.
way.
What a situation here. And Martin Mertens, Dave, he went toe to toe with some of the best climbers on this climb. Martin Mertens can make things happen here on this climb, and he is going to be probably the rider that they're looking to really win this outright. I think the other riders most likely be looking to support him, and that's why we saw Theme off the front there, allowing Mertens to sit in. And then we've also got, kind of a wild card here with Vanden Heuvel when it comes to the climb. But if they can finish that mid pack or upper echelon of the pack and allow Martin Mertens to do his thing, I have a feeling Toyota GT, like you just said, they're in a great position right now, Dave, having one of the strongest climbers we've ever seen, specifically on this course.
Yeah, they don't need to win this race outright. But I mean, I think realistically, putting 3 in the top 6, independent of what the other riders are doing, could very well be enough. What a thrilling way to head into this final. So everybody going to play their cards pretty close to the vest right now, Nathan. It looks like nobody wanting to extend themselves. There's so much quality in this group. And I think, as you said, keying off of what a rider, well, in this case, like Leonard Tugels is doing, is a good idea. Very likely that a guy like Leonard wins this race outright. But with his teammates not collecting enough points along with him, the situation really becomes Toyota Cryo is the team to watch. And it looks like they're amassing at the front right now, Nathan. This is one of the longest standing teams in esports, as we like to say. They've been around really since the get-go and have remained relevant. And a part of that is a community. It looks like we got an attack. Back to you, Nathan.
Paniza off the front here. It looks like Ricardo Paniza for Team Caselli, presented by Elite, making a serious move. 8.8 watts per kilogram. Pim Van Diem now goes on the counter. It looks like nice little move for him at 6 watts per kilogram, though. Backing off, Paniza does get a 2-second gap. Now, here's the question here, Dave. When will the feathers be used? Most likely in just a moment here, we're going to see a flurry of them as they come over the top of this sharper section. Paniza now backs off the 6.4. He does get a quick 4 seconds. Now, the thing is, Dave, there's agreement in the pack right now. Their communication between each other about where they're putting their avatars says everything about what they think about Paniza's move. They think, look, if we all stay together, he's coming back on the snowball. But if any of them break that agreement in their communication and wattage right now, all mayhem is going to break loose because they're not going to want to let anything go. But Paniza, he's committed, Dave. 7 watts per kilogram, making another kick.
It sounds like you're talking about a political agreement, right? As long as we got each other's back, we're good. But when it goes bad, it goes bad. And I completely agree with that assessment. We got Panizza now on the front, pushing the pace. So he is going to build up a bit of a buffer, it looks like, as they go inside of 10K of racing. Again, the points break down 60 for the winner, 55 for second, 50 for third, on down in that decreasing by 5 order. Taking a look at the peloton now. We are in Innsbruck, the third and final race here. And this one is much more straight ahead than the journey to get to this point, as it has been mayhem out here. But back to the Tête de la Corsa, the front of the bike race. And here's the Italian, Nathan, holding on to around 8 seconds at this point.
8 seconds. Now everybody getting into their super tucks. You see that 0 watts per kilogram behind means they're all super tucking on that downhill. Paniza jumps right back into 4.6 for some continuance through these cobbles. I have a feeling 4 seconds in just a moment here as they roll through with a whole lot of speed and with a little bit of a kick at the front as we got some roll through coming on in from Bart Vanden Eckert. And they got him within sight, Dave, but he holds on to a solid 5 seconds at this point, and he is not messing around. He's got 5.7 watts per kilogram to give. So, Dave, I do think that's going to come back on the climb, but we have a little bit of a counter coming out, perhaps. Yep, Havot looks to go across. He doesn't want to just sit around and watch this go up the road. He pushes 6 watts per kilogram. Tugels with an immediate response, actually, not letting anything get away.
Yeah, just keeping the pace high, keeping things spicy out there would be Sebastian Havot here in the orange, and that gets Leonard Tugels. He's poked the bear. The Belgian bear now is going to start rolling it. This picks up the pace now. Is everybody going to start contributing? And that's it. Here we go. The big race to the bottom of the climb has begun, Nathan. Everybody realizes you've got to stay involved. This is going to be Mark Motting. Certainly made his name a significant underlined as a rider to watch. No question is Motting. And that's going to be making contact now with Panizza. So hit the reset button at the front. Just a little over 8K to go with all of the climbing ahead of us here. Everybody together. Grupo Compacto, Nathan.
Yeah, and real quickly here, Dave, I want to just talk about on paper between all of these riders here, there is some serious standout. Leonard Tugels stands out at this 20-minute power at just head and shoulders himself and Plantheroux. Not maybe not neck and neck at the kind of levels that Tugels can climb at, but Plantheroux, he may be able to respond, but Tugels is probably going to be so fresh after how quickly he got out of that second race. It's going to be really Plantheroux's race to try and respond, I think, to anything Tugels is bringing to the table. But then we've got a little bit closer of a matchup between Martin Mertens and Lionel Villassen out here today at about 5.7 watt per kilogram climbing ability here. Tugels up at a 6.4 or so that we've seen in the worlds of Zwift here at 20 minutes. I mean, just insanity when it comes to any kind of climb. So those 4 riders are really, between them and Mark Motting as well. You can throw him in there at the 5.7. So those 5 riders, Motting, Villassen, Mertens, Plantheroux, Tugels, those are on paper. Now, that's not saying the rest of these riders can't have a ride out of your skin, kind of like just amazing day on the bike and really, really perform out here. But as far as the expectations go, watch out for them to be the pure climbers out here. And there's a reason why a lot of them are kind of sitting in and not really making any moves. Mark Motting being the kind of standout there. And I'm a little surprised he's making these moves, but that's kind of his attitude. It's his personality a little bit more so. Whereas the other 4, they've been sitting in and they're purely waiting for that climb.
Any of these guys, Nathan, really can race, and some of them do race at the UCI professional level. I mean, Leonard Tugels is a good example of that. But I would even say, looking at this list, about half of these guys either have or are racing at that level. And guys like Zach Nair races domestically in the United States, and is also professional. He's an aerodynamics engineer at one of the major auto manufacturers in Detroit. So this is a extreme. I mean, this is a UCI professional level group that you're looking at. And when you get to that level, the differences amongst talent, and it comes down to how fit are they right now in their big picture of their year-long timeline, and how motivated are they. All of these things really, really matter when you're talking about thoroughbred athletes. This is the cream of the crop, and we've got an attack. Sebastian Evo, Pim van Diemen have hit out for the bottom of the mountain, Nathan. It is on like Donkey Kong from here on in.
I'm so surprised to see this actually here, Dave. It's a really risky move from Havo, and he just continues to put the pressure on. But Dave, I really do believe this is a setup for Planthrough. This is a setup for his teammate to cause others to chase. Watch Planthrough continue to just sit in and allow a rider, perhaps like Tugles, to close that down and just follow his wheel. Follow the wheels of others. And he knows he can make the climbs happen here. And I have a feeling that Havo here is, if he can get away and continue on, great on him. But I think he's thinking of Planthrough to make sure that he sets him up well. But Planthrough now kicking at 7 here, making sure he's in good position as Ollie Jones heads to the front to try and close thing down. They're starting the climb official. There's the banner on the side of the road saying the KOM has begun.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a tale of two cities when you look at it. Almost not completely flat, but all of the climbing comes now with 480 meters on tap, and this is it. Throttle all the way open. So there goes Ollie Jones. Leonard Tugles now is just going to prowl near the front of this group. I don't expect him to go all in. There is Bart the Hart, Bart den Aekut to the front, but now we're looking at your current leader, Pim van Diemen of the Movistar team. So we can watch, see who's sliding into that draft. I love our heat map here. That's going to be Ollie Jones with Tugles on his wheel, and Jones now up, and over the top. So the climbing has begun, Nathan.
Vyasen now off the back. Interesting enough, Dave. It looks like Vyasen may be scoring 5 points for the team today. It might just not be in the legs for Lionel today as he kicks back to 11 seconds. So Vyasen, the duck, the first one to fall. I'm actually a little surprised at that, Dave. I thought he would be up and amongst the top climbers today, but Ollie Jones instead going to be the one, the suffering on the face out here today. He'll be collecting 5 and saying, look, it's up to Jones today. Have at it, as Vyasen's going to be the first one to sacrifice. Now, the reality, though, is, Dave, there's 5 points ahead of him from Havot, and if Paniza's going way over his head here and starts, heading backwards, Vyasen can still grab points that are up the road from him. So it's not all said and done for him, but at this point, he's at the back of the race. Now the separation has really happened. This is your top 5. Jones, Tugles, Pim van Diem. It's going to be Planthrough there as well. And then we've got Van den Aekot. Those are your 5. Modding's leading the chase. That's 8 seconds back. But I think these 5, Dave, they completely have found their separation.
Yeah, they've got their rhythm. Lionel Vyasen proving he's human, at least, Nathan, out here, as it's the first time I've seen him had a day like this. And I mean, it's obviously, when you look at the body of his work, one of the all-time greats, it shows you how high the level is. His teammate Ollie Jones flying the flag, though, up on the front. Pim van Diemen going pedal stroke for pedal stroke with Jones right now. Leonard Tugles is there, and Bart van den Aekot is having a sensational day out here today. Certainly a breakthrough star of this, the 5th of 6 rounds of racing in the Zwift Grand Prix. Women up next week. They'll have the same format as the men have been racing on here today, but now it's the men's chance to prove out of this group of 12 who's got the best climbing legs of all. And these are the heavy hitters. Nathan, Ollie Jones, Leonard Tugles, Bart van den Aekot, all now trying to plant their flag at the top of Innsbruck.
Ollie Jones now, this is interesting, Dave. I would not want to come to the line with a K to go with Ollie Jones or Tugles. Those two can just ramp things up all the way to the line. And out of kicks here, Dave, if it really does come to the line and Jones is in the wheel of Tugles, I could see a good jump over the top. I mean, really, I'm going to see if Jones can climb with the likes of this crowd right now, Dave, this is a new Ollie Jones coming to the table right now. I am really a little bit surprised to see him amongst the likes of Planthrough, Van den Aekot, Tugles here at this point. Where's Martin Mertens back 18 seconds? So I couldn't have been more wrong, actually. Bart here taking over that spot. But look at the suffering, Dave. I have a feeling he's hanging on with the kings of climbing at this point. And Jones and Tugels, Plantaro's starting to turn the screws. You can see the suffering in the face here, maybe a little bit over the head. That's what these real pictures give us here at this point here, Dave. And Plantaro now goes across. The covering is starting to happen.
Oh, the gap opening up, the agony out here. It's just getting so real right now. And look at this. What a fighter, living up to the nickname Bart the Heart. Incredible that he's going to hang on to this group. So these five now, epic battle going on. Nathan, I think Tugels is just biding his time. To tell you the truth, I just can't imagine a five-rider kick to the line. There's going to be a decisive attack. Will it come from the Belgian Tugels? That's where I'm going to slide my money right now, but I'm not doing it blindly confident. I mean, there's some real talent. How about Mikel Plantereau, the French rider here, for what has become one of our favorite teams, Hexagon. They put two riders into this 12-rider final. They have really stepped up, and Plantaro is really looking to go blow for blow because we've got, it looks like, a big moment happening right now out of our front group.
Yeah, and Tugels just lit the fuse, Dave. We just saw it just a second ago. That was one of the steeper sections of the climb. It went up to 11% gradient, and Tugels turned the screws 7 watts per kilogram. He's got fresher legs than a lot of the rest of the riders, and I had a feeling we may see him just say, look, at about a certain point, when I feel a little bit of chink in the armor, look at him, Dave. Smile on the face, Dave. This is the man of the hour right now, really here, Dave. Kicks it to 7 again as it kicks into the steepest sections of these gradients here. He is going to just turn the screws every single time to put that little time in and then get right back into his tempo. His tempo, Dave, I really think. And now Jones here looking to maybe try to respond. No, 6 watts per kilogram. This is a race for second place at this point, Dave. And making sure you're not just blowing up because Leonard Tugels is gone.
It's funny, Nathan, you're usually very hesitant to say something like that, which just gives me even more confidence that Leonard is the man. Tintin here in the United States comes from Brussels, Belgium. That's just a few miles or kilometers away from where Leonard, he looks like him right now. So comfortable, the rosy cheeks, just putting on a clinic. The race behind him has gone out to more than 10 seconds as this is going to be Ollie Jones. Ollie racing out of New Zealand here. So, and Ollie turning up the gas a little bit now, Nathan, 55 points per second. So, you know, it's significant if Ollie can hold on for that spot. We've still got quite a ways to go with Pim van Diemen now starting to let go of Jones. Okay, Tugels, Jones, and now Plantaro into third, Nathan.
I can't speak enough to this new Ollie Jones that is showing up here, and he's put in so much work. It looks like, Dave. We saw it in the Continental qualifiers. We've seen it in the Grand Prix. The aggression from him, the just I'm off the front, don't care, put the watts down, catch me if you can attitude. And he's doing something similar to what we just saw Tugels do, but within his own race. He's racing his own race. He didn't try and follow Tugels and go outside of his skin because the reality is here, Dave. Tugels went to 7.5. And I saw Jones stick it at 6 and 6.5 and said, nah, I'm not going to 7. And I think he could have actually, Dave, with the way that he's controlled this steady effort right around 6 to 5 all the way through, and then dropping Pim van Diem, dropping Van den Eck out, the way that he's kind of done that as well. I think he knew what he can do to the top and said, I'm just going to continue on with my race. If Tugels can do that, good for him. And now he continues on and breaks everybody else in this race. It's a huge ride for Ollie Jones, a new rider we're finding right now as we head into the heart of our esports Zwifting winter.
Yeah, you don't always have to outright win the race to come away from the race a winner. And that is certainly Ollie Jones here today. Nathan, a big part of being successful in esports is also understanding where your limits are and not, you can't just leave it up in the red zone too long. You have to understand even where that zone is. And we're going to go back now. So Tugels is gone. He's in a different postal code than the rest of this race at this point. And I can't say that's a surprise to anybody. Leonard Tugels is a world-class bike racer in real life or here with us in esports. Ollie Jones solidly in second, but they're starting to hot it up behind him. Pim van Diemen, Bart van Eickhout, and Mikel Plantaro sitting in a group. Well, not really a group of three anymore because Pim van Diemen is going clear for that third spot on the podium, Nathan, if things hold true. We're still quite a ways from the finish, however. A lot of climbing here today.
2.5 kilometers to go, and there is a lot of time here between those gaps are starting to open up. Interesting enough, near actually falling off from that Mertens modding group here that's kind of formed a duo that's trying to make their way to the line for that 6th and 7th place. So a little bit of agreement most likely between the WLC and the Toyota Crowd T team. And then it's going to be Theme, Near, and Paniza battling it out there for those next spots out on course. But look at Jones grinding on this 15% gradient here. 20 seconds back though from Tugels, but still opening up the gap back to Pim Van Diem. And now the orange, look at that little bit of a orange there coming from that third position. Pim Van Diem now putting the pressure on, making sure Planthero doesn't come back to him as he's put the distance between himself and fourth place, actually. Pim Van Diem having an amazing ride, seeing if he can close things down or perhaps shut down Michael Planthero. Planthero who does throws down the feather power, but here's our leader out on course. Tugels here at 7.1 watts per kilogram. This might be one of the fastest ever in esports climbs of this Innsbruck reverse right now. Tugels is throwing everything out on course.
Yeah, fastest known time well underway. Nathan, when you look at it here, I think this is going to be incredibly interesting when you see what Cryogen and Wahoo Lacole are up against. Is modding there right behind fifth place rider Bart van den Eyckhout. And then you've got two more Martinson team there for Cryogen. Which one of those teams is going to have the most points when this is all done here in round 5? That's going to be very, very close, to tell you the truth. Incredible. Now, the rider off the front right now isn't really part of that conversation. The Avis Lacole rider out of Belgium, Leonard Tugels, is in a league of his own. As superstar ride from Leonard Tugels here today. And Ollie Jones, got to give credit. As you said, Nathan, Ollie is really finding another level himself. That's going to be second place out there now, although that's still in play. I would say Tugels not really at this point. I think that bird has flown the coop.
This is so interesting to see. Jones, is he fading? He's within striking distance here. Dougals is going to be finishing really quickly here. 1.7 kilometers to go to the finish line here, Dave. But Jones, it's back within 10 seconds. And Pim Van Diem and Planthero, I mean, they're not working together, that's for sure. Pim Van Diem just attacked Michael, and now Michael having to back off. Now they back off to 3.7. And this little infight in between this group is going to allow Jones to get a little bit of distance from them where he actually excels. And that is going to be this flat, this downhill into a flat and back into a kick, carrying speed in, and look at how quickly that speed and that wattage that he had on that flat versus 3.2 and 2.7 as they watch each other for that third and fourth place. Jones says, I'm consistent all the way through. Again, got to respect the way he's riding his race right now, keeping it consistent, making sure he's got wattage all the way through so that when they do get close like that, he's still got something in the bank to give. Tugels though up ahead, kicking another 7 watts per kilogram. The battle for third, fourth, and fifth is completely playing out behind though here, Dave, as they kick back up into 7, 8 watts per kilogram. The search for the line, it may bring things back for Jones, though it's still a threat.
Yeah, Tugels doesn't have much more than a minute and a half. It's not flat, but most of the real climbing is behind. Actually, all of the really hard climbing is behind Leonard Tugels right now. These guys just about to that threshold as well as they'll move into some higher speeds and opening up the throttle on the way to the finish line as critical points are on offer here as we're going back and picking up the French rider on Hexagon Plantereau as he's holding on to, well, and just as I say that, here comes a charge from Cryo. So Cryogen RDT is motoring through.
Where
How
did they
about
come from?
Martins there?
Dave!
Woo!
Where did they come from, Dave? Martin Mertens, I thought, was totally out of this race and suddenly just turns it on in the second half. Talk about racing your race. He comes on through with a feather power up, and he's even closing to Jones. Dave, I said I was surprised. I said, what is going? Where is Martin Mertens? He's out of this race. I can't believe where he's standing. Suddenly, a second wind comes in, and Mertens kicking 8 watts per kilogram. Dave, he's closing to Jones.
I think this is incredible for all of our old school esports fans. Toyota Cryo could be taking one of the biggest wins in the team's history. Now, this is certainly far from confirmed. We've got a tremendous amount of math to do, but they are starting to make this into a very, very interesting race because it's going to be 50 points if Martin Mertens can hold on, and it looks like he's going to do that. We're back to the front of the bike race. This is going to be Leonard Tugels. Nathan, I got to throw it back to you as Tugels is going to take another one with a monster ride from the Belgian here today.
set himself up perfectly, Dave. Race number 1, race number 2, he just went out and took control, made sure that he easily got through and scored big points in race number 2, 60 points, and rack it up again. Leonard Tugels does Lenny things out on course and makes it happen for another 60 points for Abus LaCole. Now, Ollie Jones trying to hang on to this spot here for Coalition. Martin Mertens on the attack here. He's rode his way straight through this entire pack. He was up to 30 seconds back at one point, David. Now he is a freight train rolling to the top of Innsbruck climb, but Jones is going to hang on. He's not letting this train catch him. Is it 7.3 to the line for Ollie Jones? Massive, massive move here for the New Zealander and one of his best rides, I think, in his career. But here comes Mertens, Dave. What a surge from him later on in this race.
They got to love Pim Van Diemen from Movistar going past Mark Modding as Modding is fighting tooth and nail for those Wahoo LaCole points out here. This is going to be Modding that we're looking at now, finishing. Every point is going to matter in this cryogen Wahoo LaCole battle. I think that's what it's really going to come down to, and that's going to be Wahoo LaCole riding from Mandy, coming through and picking up those points with Modding. So, Nathan, back to you now as every point matters out here.
Yeah, it was Planter that took fifth there. As you can see, Van Dien behind there. But here comes Paniza attacking like crazy now as they are looking to break Christoph Thiem. And this is for points that matter, Dave, because Toyota Cryo DT, they need every single position they can possibly get out of the riders they brought into this final. 3 of them here. What can Castelli do? Paniza unable to respond. Christoph Thiem comes over the top. 8.8 watts per kilogram. Paniza with the early attack, trying to break him, not wanting to sprint to the line, and now fading as Thiem rides away for Toyota Cryo RDT. Will take 8th place with 9th going to Paniza, Zach Neer, Lionel Viasen, and Havo. They're going to be the 10th, 11th, and 12th riders, it looks like, making their way to the night. Paniza rolls across for that 9th place. Still, though, anywhere in this top 12, we started the day with 60 of the strongest esports riders in the world, the strongest teams in the world. And now we have whittled it down to 12. It's a respectable ride across the board for any of them to make it to the top right here.
You had to be paying close attention to notice what Toyota Cryo was doing out here today, as well as they weren't Flash and Razmataz in the first couple of races. They did enough to qualify 3 to get into this final, and then had those 3 riders ride quite well. And when you look at it now, Zach Nair's placing isn't going to be enough for next to leapfrog Wahoo LaCole. So the real challenge for Wahoo LaCole, in my mind, does come from Cryogen RDT, and they're working hard on that. Here's one of the biggest stars that esports has ever seen, the Duck, Lionel Viasen, finishing up. He had his teammate Ollie Jones getting second, one of the few teams to even get 2 riders, or even get 1 rider into this group. But Canyon getting 2 out here, Coalition, I should say, and Viasen here going to finish up, Nathan, taking, I believe, 10 points. That would be for 11.
Yeah, and I hope this is not what I was expecting here for Viasen. Wondering if maybe something happened in there, and it did make a really good attack though in that second race. Maybe just too many matches thrown down. We'll have to wait and see how that ended up playing out though for Coalition Alpha, as it is going to be Havo finishing things up here for the Hexagon team. Planthro just getting in and scoring actually big points though, Dave, in that race number 2. So both of these riders really making a statement, I feel like, for this Hexagon presented by Saris team. Actually, they are one of the newer teams to this level of racing within the Zwift world and esports. So I really feel like they are starting to really put this team on the map when it comes to these kinds of races of attrition. They've been showing up time and again as well later in these races, continental qualifiers, this kind of a format. Amazing job here by this Hexagon team.
And he'll take the last points on offer here, so no reason to scoot along. He'll have the virtual broom wagon right behind him, but Havo will come across the line and put a bow on it as we wrap things up here today, the 3rd and final race of this brand new format, Team Elimination Omnium. We'll be done and dusted here, so we'll add those points in for Hexagon and then start looking at how the day sorts out, and then the biggest picture of all is how the season sorts out with just one final race remaining for the men. The women will be back next week racing in this exact same format here for the Zwift Grand Prix, but we will welcome our final finisher across the line here of the 12 riders who made it into race 3 of 3.
Yeah, it's Tugels. This I would really want to know what kind of a time this is and how it compares across these kinds of situations, Dave. They when the cameras turn on, you know that the best of the best have shown up, that people are peaking for things like this. All the pressure, you're really there to show your art form, what you've worked toward in everything for your sport. And Tugels, I think, just put that all on the line here, Dave, and really showed us one of the best times as well as one of the best races across the entirety of the format. The reality is, it looked to me, Dave, like show up for the first race, get through, get some good points, but get through. Second race, just take the 60 right from the front. And then, Dave, I mean, tactically as far as the physical prowess and his abilities that he showed off as a cyclist, and then tactically, as you would say, the chess match he played, Dave. I mean, it was checkmate there, Dave. 100% from start to finish. It seemed like Tugels just played it perfectly for Avis Lacole.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you peel the layers of the onion. You have the outstanding individual rides, and we saw a few of them out here today, no doubt. And then the team performance. And I think that's really where I'm settling in on after this one today, Nathan, is what Toyota Cryo did. And I mean, by putting 3 riders into this final 12, they made up 1/4 of the field that took up the start, and they raced quite well, ending up with a top 3 spot, which would have been good for 50 points right there. So a great day of racing, no doubt about it. Do want to mention that the results that we'll be showing will be provisional. So we haven't carved them in stone yet, but this is certainly, let's take a look first at how things broke down for the 12 gladiators who were out there in the final 3 races. As Nathan noted, it was quite a ride from Leonard Tugels today, taking the outright win in race 3. Ollie Jones, good for the silver medal, and Martin Mittens rounding out your top 3. Mark Modding had quite a day today. He really did. Congratulations to the Wahoo Lacole rider, with Mikel Plantero rounding out our top 5. We had Pim van Diemen there in 6th. Bart van den Eyck, that's a name to remember, Nathan, going forward. Certainly a lot of spirit in that racer. Christoph Team will be another one of the Toyota Cryo riders. So they did end up with 3 riders in the top 8 there in race 3. Riccardo Panizza for the Italian Castelli squad in 9th. Zach Nair will take 10th. Lionel Viasen for 11th, and Sebastian Evo rounding out our top 12 riders there. As we will then take those points, Nathan, add them up with all of their teammates, and see who the top team is here today. Does Wahoo Lacole have enough to hold on? This is race 3. This is how the points after that race added up. Nathan, I'll let you take that board.
And look, this Toyota Cryo DT, as you were saying there, Dave, what an advantage putting 3 riders into the final 105 points. That could be the difference maker for the entirety of this format. Winning on the day, we'll have to wait and see, though. Coalition Alpha with a solid 65 points, 10 points from Viasen, and 55 points coming in from Ollie Jones. Able to close with 60 points from this ride from Tugels, and Tugels scoring a whole total of between just 2 races, 120, 60, and 60. So big points here. The most that one rider could score actually between race 2 and 3. Wahoo Lacole coming in with 45 with Madi. It's going to be Hexagon presented by Cyrus with 5th points with 45, with 2 riders in there. Movistar E-Team with Pim van Dien grabbing that 35. And then it's going to be Team Castelli presented by Elite with 20 in that 7th place. And then next presented by Insured coming on through with Zach Neer grabbing 15 points on the day here. So that for the race number 3, excuse me. Up and over the top of that, Innsbruck Continental Qualifiers, Dave. So
All
we're
right.
going to be
Sounds
taking a
like we've
look at
got
the
our
round 5 points here, Dave. Why don't you go ahead and take that away? This is the standings at the end of this format.
These are provisional results. Thank you very much, Nathan. And I'm amazed. Holy cow. So, again, provisional results, but going by this, they did it. Toyota Cryo with what a team ride that was. One for the books. Congratulations to Toyota Cryos. It looks like with 435 points, they'll be the top of the table, very close. Wahoo Lacole certainly riding with heart today. Your spirit is tremendous and always going to be a team that gets everyone's respect. Wahoo Lacole in second with 425 points. 381 points is what it took to be in the top three today for Movistar, with Next Esport, presented by Insured, ending up in fourth. Coalition Alpha for fifth. And this is a round five team standing. So there's still one more layer left. But this was after today's race. We had Castelli in sixth. Avis Lacole for seventh. Hexagon, presented by Ceres, in eighth place today. Arrow for ninth. Team Swedish Swifters ending up in 10th. Kalish Esport, presented by Wahoo Burke, in 11th. And Velocio rounding out our top 12 teams. Real story there was a battle royale between Wahoo Lacole and Toyota Cryo, with today Toyota Cryo ending up on top of the table. Nathan, took everything they had. It really did. It's what it's all about here in Zwift Grand Prix.
Yeah, and I think every last one of those efforts seriously mattered for the end of that. But looks like next esports presented by Insured, they're at the top here, Dave. It's going to be followed up by Wahoo Lacole with 76 points. A little bit of distance now in the points starting to open up here. We're going to need to start seeing response in the last couple of races, actually. As we are here with Abel Lacole at 72, now creeping their way up. If they had a big race and some of these top other teams have a rough day, but the consistency has been pretty key for next there. Not sure that's going to happen, but Abel maybe for a second place or a really, really good day for that first. Toyota Car T now bumping themselves up here to that fourth place, sitting at 69 points. Coalition Alpha, consistency is key for them, and it looks like they are going to be sitting in at fifth. Movistar E Team here at sixth place with 41 points. Team Castelli presented by Elite in seventh right now. Hexagon presented by Cyrus in eighth place at 19 points. Carlos Esports presented by Wahoo Burke are sitting in ninth at 16. Velocio in 10th with 12 points. It's going to be Arrow in 11th there with 10. And Team Swedish Swifters in 12th place. That is your current standings in the men's Zwift Grand Prix. Dave, and it's been hotly contested. So great to see the way that the men are be taking on this racing.
What a day. I tell you what, I'm exhausted after all of that. I tell you, with our new point structure, Nathan, I think it's great to see, and so do the teams sitting in second, third, and fourth, that they're still in with the shot here as well, as this is far from over with one day of racing left. You need a little bit of good luck for yourself, a little bit of bad luck for your competitors, and somewhere in that karmic mix, you might come out with a big win here in this series. But to all of the teams that have been racing, this has been an absolute blast to be along for the ride, Nathan. I mean, it doesn't get better than this.
No, it doesn't. It's been absolutely awesome too, seeing the way that the teams have been giving their feedback. Remember, the teams are a part of a lot of the feedback and the planning for these formats as well. They are an integral part of the building of this from the ground up for this new discipline within cycling. So it's super exciting to see how they're able to be a part of that, not only in the planning, but then take part of it and see how it works out. That's a ton of fun to see, and it's awesome from our perspective as well to watch the evolution of each one of these riders, the formats, as well as all of you that have been hanging out and chat with us as a community, Dave. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it, Dave? When it comes down to it, watching this and spectating, being able to see the performances in front of our eyes as this sport just kind of unfolds in front of us.
Yeah, and Nathan, you said it at the beginning of that statement there. The racers help design these races, and it's all about this community and, trying to move forward with fun, exciting, progressive racing, open for all. And certainly, if you are excited by this, get out there, give it a shot yourself. We have over 20,000 folks that race on Tuesdays in the ZRL. Nathan, I love doing that coverage as well, as we have a chance to go around the globe. So today was a special day for esports racing. I'm going to throw it back to you, Nathan, with my gratitude for, I just love being along for the ride.
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. Now, remember, there's plenty going on out on Zwift when it comes to racing and riding. Head on over to Zwift.com/racing for all the info to get involved in Zwift racing. You've got the individual racing series that'll be starting up for December. We've got the Zwift Racing League, obviously, that we are broadcasting some over on Zwift Community Live for next Tuesday. Go ahead and check that out. Also, if you haven't checked out, we do a review on the wrap over on Zwift Community Live as well with myself and Anna Russell. It's a podcast that we actually have guests on every single week to review what's going on. Lots and lots of stuff to do with the racing community. Go ahead and check that out. So appreciate everybody hanging out with us here today. And we will see you next week for the Women's Zwift Grand Prix, the exact same format, but the women are going to take it on, and that's going to be just as exciting or better. So don't make sure to be in the same place at the same time next week. And as always, we'll see you out on Zwift real soon. And as always, from myself and Dave Toll, ride on.